It starts with a whistle and ends with a gun. 60 minutes of close-in action from kickoff to touchdown. This is pro football, the sport of our time.
Those of you who follow my work for a long time may recall that a few years ago, I wrote an article about Steve Sabol's Hall of Fame induction and the impact his filmmaking had on the NFL, the sports world in general, and thousands of adoring fans whose hearts were captured by his productions. I've based this video heavily on that article, but I want to do a deeper dive and show you some of my favourite NFL Films productions, and hopefully it will bring back some great memories for some of you, and for others lay the groundwork for a great appreciation for the impacts which the Sabol family has had on how we view sports. One Christmas morning when I was 8 years old, I unwrapped a gift that, unknown to me at the time, would be one of the most influential presents I would ever receive. A DVD box set titled NFL Films Super Bowl Collector's Set. Since that Christmas day, I have watched those DVDs and many other NFL Films productions countless times. Before every Super Bowl DVD was an NFL Films video titled Road to the Super Bowl, which told the story of the season. Road to the Super Bowl was my first introduction to the most unique filmmaking in sports history. Several people narrated for NFL Films, but the voice of John Facenda, who turned a story about football into poetry. Poetry that was so chilling that if William Shakespeare himself were to listen, it would send shivers down his spine.
The autumn wind is a raider, pillaging just for fun. He'll knock you round and upside down and laugh when he's conquered and won.
Facenda was always the gold standard. Each production featured an incredible score orchestrated by the brilliant Sam Spence, who applied the perfect music to each situation. Music which would become synonymous with some of the most memorable moments in the history of sports. Music which would play in the background whilst the excitement and incredibly detailed analysis from the radio commentary of games from teams involved was brought to life by some of the most colourful and detailed sports action ever captured on camera.
The big play of the game for the Dolphins. Here's a snap, step down, the kick is up. He's got the distance. It's good! The Dolphins win! The Dolphins win!
Footage which would stare deep into the soul of the players and the coaches of the game, whilst capturing the ecstasy of the fans in the stadium as their heroes on the field were either victorious or the heartbreak as they were vanquished. As important as the narration and the music were, NFL Films was a product of two men behind the camera who ensured that the final product would be as glamorously detailed as possible. The men that wrote the scripts, produced the pictures, and most importantly, founded NFL Films. A father and son partnership between Ed Sabol, from the Hall of Fame class of 2011, and his son, member of the Hall of Fame class of 2020, Steve Sabol. Ed Sabol founded the company back in 1962 when he filmed the NFL championship game between the Green Bay Packers and the New York Giants at Yankee Stadium. According to Sabol's A Football Life, Ed called Steve when he was at college at Colorado State and said, "I can tell by your grades that all you've been doing at school is playing football and going to the movies. Well, it just so happens that I have the perfect job for you." Steve went to New York to help his father film the 1962 NFL Championship game, and NFL Films was born. Most productions from NFL Films would feature Steve Sabol, a man in a tailored suit and tie with thick dark hair surrounded by thousands of film reels that he and his staff had captured. In each video, Sabol would look directly into the camera and say,
"Hi, I'm Steve Sabol of NFL Films."
He would then proceed to tell the audience stories about the history of the game that he loved so much. Stories that would have the audience on the edge of their seats as if they were viewing a Hollywood picture. I specifically mention Hollywood because that's where Sabol's inspiration came from. According to Sabol, his inspiration was, as a kid, seeing Duel in the Sun in 1946, with Jennifer Jones climbing up a mountain. There was this intense music, and you could see her bloody hands as she desperately tried to climb up that mountain. I remember thinking, why can't we do that with football?
We do that with football. Why don't we shoot a telephoto lens and just get on Dick Butkus's hands, or just show the line of scrimmage with the fingers twitching? There's a whole story there.
The hands of combat. The hands of pros.
And that's exactly what they did. Sabol and NFL Films have captured moments of pro football that will live on forever. I thought I'd mention and show a few of my favourite clips and stories from NFL Films from Sabol's time there, and explain how historical moments in the league's history became synonymous with NFL Films' cinematography. Sabol captured all of this footage by having three main camera focuses, a top cameraman, that would sit high in the stands and record the action from afar, known as the tree, an action cameraman that would record the action from the sidelines, and finally, the camera that Sabol operated himself, the Weasel, would record the small but significant details that tell the story. Footprints in the mud, the deep breaths that could be seen from the players on a cold winter day, the shadows casted caused by the rays of sunshine shining through the stadium, and the reactions of the crowd. The end result, when the footage was combined, was not only art, but history brought to life, ensuring that fans of the game can feel as though they are experiencing it firsthand, as you will experience through the course of this video. In chronological order, here are some of the best of Sabol's Emmy-winning productions which are responsible for so many of our childhood memories. The Steelers and the Raiders, one of the most intense rivalries in NFL history, was born in the 1972 AFC Divisional Playoffs. After a gritty battle between two legendary defenses, the score was 7-6 in favor of Oakland with 22 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Steelers quarterback Terry Bradshaw went under center to try and make one last play to advance to the championship game. This is what happened.
Out to the right, he looks, he throws deep, and it is not in the way. It's going right into the head. And the Pittsburgh Steelers Bradshaw has, he's at the 25, the 20, the 15, the 10, the 5, the touchdown for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It looks as though Jack Tatum, one of the most ferocious defenders in league history, had just ended the play on a batted down pass, but then you see Franco coming out of the corner of the TV screen, and all of a sudden, he's heading for the end zone as he scores. Unbelievable. What's really interesting about this one is that the original broadcast footage didn't pick up Harris's catch, but Ernie Hurst, one of Sabol's best cameramen, filming the action from the sideline, was right there to capture the miracle and the iconic piece of history, staring deep into Franco Harris's eyes as he just about scoops the ball up off the floor and ran in for a miracle touchdown. In the 1974 playoff game, which was marketed at the time as Super Bowl 8.5, the upcoming Raiders took on the winner of the last two Super Bowls and the three-peat winners of the AFC. Don Shula's Miami Dolphins. In a game full of twists and turns, including some of the most outstanding displays of offense from Ken Stabler, Cliff Branch, Fred Biletnikoff, and Dave Casper of the Raiders, and the powerful air attack of Bob Greasy and Paul Warfield, and the ground game of Larry Zonka of the Dolphins. With just 2 minutes left in the game, Zonka pounded his way to the Raiders' 23-yard line, setting up a touchdown from tailback Benny Malone, who scored the go-ahead touchdown to make the score 26-21. Malone's touchdown set up a potential game-winning drive from the Raiders, and this is what happened.
You get in a pressure situation like that where everything's riding on a single play or two. There's no one that you'd rather have involved in that play than Kenny Stabler. He has the uncanny knack of putting a ball between people and between hands and just being able to slip things in there from all different angles, and that's exactly what he did.
With time running out, Stabler dashed Miami's hopes of a third consecutive title in dramatic fashion.
Here he is, fading, looking. He's under the gun. He's caught, he throws. It is. Oh, he caught it. He caught it. The ball up because he was hit as he threw. It looked like he might have been lobbing it into the promised land for Miami. But no, Davis got there first, and it was the Raiders' promised land.
Oakland's 28-26 win evoked emotional extremes, characteristic of only the greatest of games.
After the game, there was Don just crying, just letting it all out, crying, and afterwards saying he was just so disappointed that for the guy's sake. But this is the one time in my life that I've seen him actually just sit down and let the tears flow for a disappointment.
You'll never see a better game than this one, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure you'll agree.
Frankly, it was maybe the greatest football game I have ever seen. It was just incredible.
The intensity of the music, brilliantly orchestrated by Sam Spence, building up suspension as we watch Ken Stabler launching passes down the field to his talented receiving corps, leading up to the climactic ending, with Clarence Davis surrounded by a sea of Dolphins in the end zone, jumping up and using all of the strength in his body to hold onto the ball and come down with it in the end zone for the game winner. All perfectly captured up close by Sabol's NFL Films crew, topped off by the Raiders radio broadcast team going crazy, and the shots of John Madden being carried off the field and the ecstasy of the fans in the stands losing their mind over what they just saw, an iconic narration throughout the event. This has gone down as one of the greatest moments in NFL history, and I don't think people would be quite as mesmerized by it today if it wasn't for NFL Films' retelling of the event. In what would be the final regular season game of Roger Staubach's prolific career, the Cowboys needed a win over the arch-rival Redskins to win the NFC East in 1979. The stakes could not be higher, and NFL Films captured each miraculous moment of this, the greatest regular season finale in NFL history. With the score 34-21 late in the fourth quarter, here's what happened.
Rush, throwing, caught, springs,
go, touchdown,
run, spring. 2:20 left in the game. Can they do it again?
You gotta believe, Brad.
Woo!
They just moved the ball so fast, and it was so frustrating. Any move we tried to make, Staubach would counter, Landry would counter, and they'd meet it, and they'd come up with something else, and it was just an extremely frustrating day to be playing defense. I wanted the clock to move so much faster than it was, but they did everything perfectly in that last half.
Yet Dallas needed another touchdown to win. Less than 2 minutes remained, and the Redskins had the ball. Clearly, Washington still had the upper hand.
The Redskins had us 3rd and 1. They gave the ball to Reagans on an outside play. They make the first down, the game's over with. And Larry Cole, who wasn't the fastest guy on our football team, was playing inside, and he was able to catch him going around the end, which wasn't very easy because Reagans, he was younger in those days, and he was fast. And the fact he caught him and gave us a chance to get the ball back was the thing that won the ball game for us. It was a great, great play on his part.
Staubach would get that final chance to work his mastery.
When he got the ball back that last time, I said to myself, please, if you're up there listening, pay attention to me because it's gonna take more than a miracle. He was hot. I mean, the man was just hot. Everything he threw up, everybody was catching.
His leadership brought them back time and time again. It was his last year as a player, but he was running around like a young kid. It was probably one of his finest performances.
1:01 left in the game. This is an all-timer. Cowboys at the Redskin 33, 2nd down 10, trailing by 6 points. From the shotgun, Staubach has time, throws, caught, inside the 10 to the 8.
You gotta love them. I mean, you gotta love the Cowboys. They're the most exciting team in the NFL. They can pull it out.
42 seconds left in the game. Redskins lead by 6. How do you live like this? How can you live like this doing this every week?
This is what it's all about.
This is a killer. 2nd down and 8. From the 8-yard line. No shotgun this time. Staubach throwing in the end zone. Tony Hill! Touchdown! Tony Hill! The Cowboys have won the East. The Cowboys have come from behind twice. Unbelievably.
Just another day at the office, Brad.
Yeah,
I like to think that Staubach could have played another few years if he decided to do so. But nonetheless, what a great game, with not one but 2 touchdown drives in the last few minutes to pull off a 35-34 victory. The Cowboys commentary team of Brad Sham and Charlie Waters narrating every detail of the comeback and the excitement they projected onto their audience, along with the images of the players celebrating and the crowd losing their minds seeing their hero pull off one last miracle against their arch nemesis in the most dramatic fashion, made this one of my all-time favourite moments captured by Ed and Steve Sabol.
This miraculous victory was the culmination of the extraordinary NFL career of Roger Staubach. His refusal to accept defeat and his will to surmount all obstacles was this man's football legacy.
The odds are, if you're a fan of the NFL, then you will have seen the NFL Films footage from the Catch. The Tom Landry-led Cowboys were the kings of the NFC. They'd won the conference 5 times in the 70s, beating the 49ers in the playoffs 3 times in that span in closely contested matchups. History seems to be on the verge of repeating itself when the Cowboys took a 27-21 lead late in the game and the 49ers were pinned back at their own 11-yard line. But Joe Montana and Bill Walsh would not allow history to repeat itself on this day. They would put together a long drive which took them all the way down to the Dallas 6-yard line. Facing 3rd down and 3 yards to go, with the clock ticking inside the final minute of the game, this happened.
Seconds remaining at the 6-yard line of the Dallas Cowboys. Everything hangs in the balance now. The season, the outcome of a Super Bowl berth hangs in the balance. He has the ball. Montana rolling out the right, looking toward the end zone, throwing under pressure, throws his pass, caught by Clark. Clark got a touchdown. Clark has it.
For the first time in franchise history, the 49ers were NFC champions, earning a berth in Super Bowl 16.
One of the most iconic plays in NFL history. Joe Montana rolled out to his right, pump fakes, and slinged the ball into the back of the end zone where Dwight Clark vertically leaped up as high as he could to extend his arms and snag the ball out of the air with his fingertips for the winning touchdown, sparking the dynasty of Bill Walsh's 49ers of the 80s and immortalizing Joe Montana and Dwight Clark forevermore. When people think of the Catch, they more than likely think of the footage taken from the back of the end zone at Candlestick Park, a product of Steve Sabol and NFL Films. Super Bowl 17, Joe Gibbs' Washington Redskins versus Don Shula's Miami Dolphins. A tough, good old-fashioned down-in-the-dirt, nose-to-nose football game decided ultimately by a battle in the trenches between the Dolphins' Killer Bees defense and the Redskins' Hogs on the offensive line. The score was 17-13 in favor of Miami in the early fourth quarter. Most teams in the 80s, when they were trailing, liked to pass the ball to conserve time in that era. With a quarterback like Joe Theismann and a receiver like Art Monk, you would think that Joe Gibbs, a man who learned from the king of the air attack himself, Don Coryell, in San Diego, would put faith in his air attack. Instead, he turned to the running back he had desperately attempted to trade only one season before, the Diesel himself, John Riggins.
Somewhere Vince Lombardi must have smiled his approval of Joe Gibbs' decision. Washington's quest for the world championship of pro football turned the sport away from its pass-happy present and back to its roots.
John Riggins, the ball carrier. Riggins, the ball carrier, gains 9 yards. John Riggins, the ball carrier.
With 10 minutes to play, the Redskins reached the Dolphin 42. It was 4th and 1. The focus of the entire game narrowed to this one critical decision.
Let's go. Goal line, goal line. I left tight wing, 70 chip on white. Ready?
Here comes the Diesel. Here comes the Diesel. Should come with John Riggins right up the middle. Right up over the middle.
Shot! Yellow 41! Yellow 41! Hunt!
There's the snap, and to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone. Touchdown, Washington Redskins.
A 43-yard touchdown run from scrimmage is the longest in Super Bowl history.
The play, 70 chip, and the name John Riggins will be forever linked with the most dramatic touchdown run in Super Bowl history.
Riggins carried the ball 38 times for 166 yards in one of the greatest performances in Super Bowl history, not just from the powerful running back, but from the Redskins' blue-collar boys up front who dominated the line of scrimmage in the fourth quarter, resulting in a 27-17 victory for Washington. When people think of this play, they most likely think of the footage shot by the action cameraman from the back of the end zone through a teleprompter lens, courtesy of the innovative storytelling and camera work from Mr. Sabol. It's also worth noting that this is the only video on the list which was narrated by the great John Facenda. Unfortunately, Facenda died in 1984, 1 year after this video was released. Whilst many have tried, nobody has ever been able to tell a story quite like John Facenda.
Running back and a group of determined linemen who turned the Rose Bowl into hog heaven and the Washington Redskins into world champions.
Joe Gibbs, the Hogs and MVP John Riggins have beaten the Miami Dolphins 27-17.
It was a freezing cold day in Cleveland, Ohio on January the 11th, 1987 as the Denver Broncos and the Cleveland Browns met in the AFC Championship game. The field consisted of more mud than grass, the crowd was extremely loud, and dog biscuits were being launched at the Broncos players from the dog pound all game. There were probably more dog biscuits on the field than green grass. The 1986 AFC Championship game between the Broncos and the Browns is one of the most memorable games in NFL history. But what's ironic is that most people only will be able to recall the final 5 minutes and 32 seconds of regulation. Down 20-13 with just over 5 minutes remaining, a mistake on the kickoff return pinned the Broncos back at their own 1.5 yard line. 98.5 yards away from the end zone and needing a touchdown to tie the game, Denver's John Elway led what has gone down as arguably the greatest drive in NFL history, marching down the field at a rate which would be completely milk the clock and also ensure that the Broncos would reach the end zone before game's end. The Broncos marched all the way down to the Cleveland 5-yard line with 42 seconds remaining and faced third down in the yard. That's when NFL Films captured this iconic moment.
Broncos at the Cleveland 5, third down and a yard.
Come on, guys! Come on, stick it to him, baby! Stick it to him!
The snap to Elway. The look, the throw, touchdown to Mark Jackson, 98.5-yard drive.
I threw that one hard, and Harrison's hand just missed the ball when it was going through there. That was in my 4th year in the league, and so that was really kind of my coming out party. I mean, that got me over the hump as far as people respecting me as a player.
The game went into overtime, where Elway led the Broncos 60 yards to set up a Rich Karlis field goal attempt.
This will be a 32-yard try to win it in overtime.
I was able to fulfill some of the expectations that people thought of me when I came into the league.
Without getting too ahead of ourselves, if we fast forward to January the 4th, 1992, history was on the verge of repeating itself, this time at Mile High Stadium. Down 21-6 in the first quarter against Warren Moon's prolific run-and-shoot offense with the Houston Oilers, the Broncos found themselves down 24-23 with just over 2 minutes left. A fantastic punt from the Oilers pinned Denver back at their own 2-yard line, a situation tailor-made for John Elway.
Game is far from over. I've seen this club move too many times to think it's over.
24-23 the score. Elway in the shotgun and in the end zone. Here's his pass. It's caught. Young makes it out at the 24-yard line. Down by Chris Dishman.
Elway converted 2 fourth downs on the drive.
4th down and 6 to go. Down to 1:28. Here's the snap. He's got some time. Flushed out. Rolls out. Being chased. Here's Elway. First down at the 35-yard line. Oh, my.
I think that pocket's going to move.
Here's the 4th down and 10 play. Elway's got the ball. John is back. Runs up out of the pocket. Lets the pass go. It's caught. Johnson to the 40. 35.
I'll tell you what. You can say what you want to. I don't think I want anybody back there except number 7. 25 and out of bounds at the 21-yard line of the Islanders.
Kubiak will hold. Here's the snap. The kick is good. Touchdown, Denver. 27-17.
27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17. 27-17 unbelievable right now. The happiest people in Mile High Stadium. This place is a madhouse. 76,000 plus have lost their minds in Mile High Stadium. Oh, unbelievable. Unbelievable finish.
And this place has gone bananas as the Broncos, with one of their greatest, come from behind win. Denver, 26. Houston, 24.
Of all of the NFL Films productions, I appreciate the descriptive radio commentary so much from this game. Longtime Denver Broncos play-by-play announcer Larry Zimmer did a heck of a job in capturing the excitement of the drive and the pure ecstasy of how he and the rest of Mile High Stadium felt when David Treadwell kicks that field goal. The commentary, combined with the incredible orchestra of music to set the tone, added so much suspense to this video. This might have been my favourite of Steve Sabol's. Going back to the 80s now. In 1985, the Chicago Bears had arguably the most dominant season ever by an NFL team. With the exception of the Miami Dolphins in Week 14, the Bears won every game, and more often than not, in dominant fashion. In the 1985 playoffs, the Bears recorded 2 shutouts and went on to annihilate the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 20, 46-10. Many believe that the Bears had a team to dominate for years to come. But the Bears' success was limited to just one superb season, as defensive coordinator Buddy Ryan, the man responsible for the creation of the Bears' 46 defense, left Chicago for Philadelphia, leaving his tense relationship with head coach Mike Ditka behind. In 1988, Ryan's Eagles and Ditka's Bears posted 2 of the best records in the NFL, and met for a personal matchup at Soldier Field. Everybody wanted to see this game. But thanks to the thick fog, which miraculously appeared from nowhere in an almost biblical setting, nobody saw this game. Well, except for Sabol and the NFL Films crew.
When a dense fog descended upon Soldier Field, the Eagles' hopes of erasing the Bears' 17-9 halftime lead vanished in a puff of smoke. This thick gray curtain brought an air of menace and an aura of mystery.
I've been in stadiums where they put you in high press boxes and you feel like you're looking through the clouds. But in this case, we really are in the clouds.
Here's how it looks to us, and we're only about 20 yards away from the play. We can hardly see it. In the stands, the fans can't, and they're relying on the play-by-play announcer to keep them abreast of what's going on.
Cunningham looking, he fires the pass, and it is... It may be intercepted by the Bears, as Cunningham evidently fired into the fog and was picked off that time by the Bears, and that could do it right
there. A 20-12 defeat reduced the Eagles to figures in a surreal landscape, and their road to the Super Bowl receded into a hazy infinity.
NFL Films captured the only viewable footage from this game, and the only conclusive proof that the game even took place in the second half at all. Fantastic camera work from the tree and the weasel in this one to make you feel the sense of what it must have been like to be at Soldier Field on that day, both as a fan in the stands or a coach or player on the sidelines who could just about make out the action. And in some of the clips, as you saw, you can see what it was like to be a player on the field. When Randall Cunningham threw that interception and the commentary booth wasn't entirely sure what happened, and one of them said that he thinks it was intercepted, that just about sums up what this game must have been like. The Bears returned to Soldier Field the following week to compete in the championship game in bitter cold weather conditions. Unfortunately for Mike Ditka and the Bears, their hopes of returning to their second Super Bowl of the decade were abruptly ended by a team of destiny, the San Francisco 49ers. After beating the Bears thanks to an incredible display of football from Jerry Rice and Joe Montana, the San Francisco 49ers found themselves in Super Bowl 23. Bill Walsh's 49ers found themselves in a matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals, led by a familiar face, former 49ers assistant Sam Wyche. Wyche had done a tremendous job with the Bengals, and with just over 2 minutes remaining in this game, his team had visions of a world championship dancing in their heads. The Bengals led 16-13, and the 49ers were pinned back on their own 8-yard line thanks to a penalty on the ensuing kickoff. All it did was set the stage for Joe Montana to make the case for why he, despite having a rough season, despite whispers suggesting that it was time for Steve Young to take over, was still the best quarterback in the NFL.
Trying to drive in the length of the field here with the game in the balance. 16-13, the Bengals lead.
Montana back to throw. Throws over the middle. A fight gets right to the 20. He's down to the 19 for a first down for the 49ers. Another brilliant catch by Jerry Rice.
1 minute left as Rice goes over the 200-yard mark in receiving. That was a 27-yard gainer on 2nd down and 20.
What a day. 11 catches for 221 yards.
49ers let the clock run. They haven't called timeout. They still haven't called a timeout. Montana going without a huddle. 52 seconds remaining. 50 seconds. Joe back to throw. He looks. He throws. He completes it to Craig. He's down to the 10. 40 seconds remaining. The 49ers will have to take a timeout here, and they do.
Coach, they're going to go. You know, it's to Rice now.
At the 10-yard line. 39 seconds remaining. Montana at quarterback. In motion. Comes Rice. Back to throw Montana. Steps up, throws. Touchdown, 49ers. For the touchdown. A 10-yard pass. The 49ers have scored with 34 seconds remaining.
Bill Walsh retired shortly after this game, ending his tenure as the 49ers boss on the highest of high notes. San Francisco went on to win another Super Bowl the following year in dominant fashion, beating the Denver Broncos 55-10. But the footage captured by NFL Films of Joe Montana's pass to John Taylor in Super Bowl 23 will always hold a special place in the hearts of the 49er faithful, perhaps even more so than the original NBC footage. In 1990, the NFL was put on notice by Marv Levy's Buffalo Bills. Their high-powered offense, led by superstar quarterback Jim Kelly, with weapons such as future Hall of Famers Andre Reed, James Lofton, and Thurman Thomas, dominated the AFC, winning the championship game against the Los Angeles Raiders by a whopping score of 51-3 at Rich Stadium. They earned the highest of compliments from their peers. They played like an NFC team. The Bills earned themselves a trip to Tampa to play the Giants in Super Bowl 25. The Giants may have been outmatched in terms of talent in this game. Ironically, it would be a contest between the Buffalo Bills and the Bills on the Giants sideline, Bill Parcells and Belichick. After putting together a masterclass of a performance in the second half by maintaining possession of the football for as long as possible, going with the theory that the K-Gun offense couldn't score if they weren't on the field. 2 long drives in the second half, taking 8 minutes and 48 seconds in the third quarter and 6 minutes and 52 seconds in the fourth quarter, led to the Giants taking a 20-19 lead in the closing minutes of the game, setting up this nail-biting drive.
And this will be it. One more shot
Then you
for
wouldn't
Jim
want
Kelly and the Bills.
You wouldn't want it any other way.
No.
You wouldn't want it any other way.
90 yards away from a touchdown. What a finish. What a finish to this Super Bowl.
National Football League at its very best here tonight.
Throughout the season, Buffalo had elevated the 2-minute drill to a complete offensive strategy, and they tried to make it work one final time. But with their passing game virtually non-existent, they were reduced to nothing but pure guts and sheer determination.
3rd inches. Thurman Thomas runs at the 30, at the 35, at the 40. Oh, a great tackle. A great open field tackle by Everson Wall. 13 to play, 112. And now he's going to run again.
Going to be some sore football plays at the end of this game. This has been tough football.
They've been using a 3-man rush. That's all. Here's Kelly to throw. He's got a man there, and it is caught by the tight end down at the 41-yard line. 38 seconds left. Keith McKellar.
37 seconds to go, and the clock is running. 34 seconds to go.
Here's a running play. Thurman Thomas at the 40, 35, 30. And now we're down to 20 seconds. I believe they're going to send the field goal unit out, or Kelly may spike the ball here.
I think
he will spike the ball. They got to line up. We're down to 12, 11, 10. It's going to be Scott Norwood who gets the shot now with 8 seconds to play.
That's it. That sets the stage for Norwood.
A lot of pressure. You want to talk about a pressure situation. That is a long way to kick a football.
The quiet man of this football team, Scott Norwood. He can fire the shot heard round the world now. Here we go with 8 seconds to play. High drama here in the Super Bowl.
Snap, spot, in the air. It's got the distance. It is. Go, go!
If you didn't know any better, you'd be on the edge of your seat like you were watching a Hollywood thriller come to its climactic ending when Scott Norwood's kick approached the goalpost, dying to find out if it made it through the uprights. The Bills would go on to win the AFC again the following year and lose to the Redskins, but they were back again in 1992, and they were on a mission to prove that the third time would be the charm. But against who? The Buffalo Bills matchup in Super Bowl 27 would be either against the San Francisco 49ers, or the Dallas Cowboys, who met up in the NFC Championship game at Candlestick Park for one of the greatest games ever played. In the fourth quarter, the 49ers were down 24-13. They stopped Emmitt Smith on a 4th and 1 call from the 8-yard line and proceeded to drive 92 yards down the field to cap off the drive with a touchdown pass from Steve Young to Jerry Rice. With the momentum on the 49ers sideline, it seemed like it would be the catch all over again. Whilst most coaches would have ran the ball 3 times, milked the clock as much as possible and punted, hoping the defense could stop the 49ers from scoring the go-ahead touchdown in the final minutes, Jimmy Johnson was not like most coaches.
Drive in probably 12 years.
Aikman is going to throw deep slant. Caught 35. Harper's breaking away. Harper's got midfield. Harper's got the 30. Harper's got the 20. Harper's got the 10-yard line. Wow.
Aikman, a straight drop, good protection. Over the middle. It's caught by Kelvin Martin at the 2. Touchdown. Touchdown, Cowboys.
This team's going to Pasadena.
NFC champions, folks.
From 1-15 in '89 to the Super Bowl 4 years. That's unbelievable.
Everybody, you did one hell of a job. And the only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys?
For the Cowboys matchup against Buffalo in 2 weeks' time, Johnson said on The Gambler and His Cowboys, the Netflix documentary, that he was 100% certain that the Cowboys would beat the Bills in the Super Bowl. He was right. The NFL Films production of this Super Bowl is one of my favourites because, unlike the others, this production was narrated through the extracts of Johnson's book Turning the Thing Around, which allowed you to hear the story straight from the mind of the winning coach.
It might be more colorful to tell you that I was consumed with tense, suspenseful thoughts, but there were none. Oh, I was excited and happy and anxious to get started, but as for the sort of feeling a commander has as a great battle looms, no, that had come 2 weeks earlier at San Francisco. It must have been a more tense time for the Bills than for us because they'd been to 2 straight Super Bowls without a win. It would be 3 when this day was done. I knew that.
And in his 4th season with the Cowboys, head coach Jimmy Johnson.
I just wanted to lay that royal flush on the table and rake in all the chips.
You know, Coach Johnson comes in, he would tell you in the Super Bowl, the difference in the game will be turnovers. You know, I've studied and I've studied and I've studied, and this will be the difference. We will have the turnovers, we will win the ball game. He didn't say if we make the turnovers, we'll win the ball game. He said we will get the turnovers and we will win the ball game. And we go into that game and boom, they start turning it over and we start going up. And we're like, man, you know, this is kind of wild, you know. He preaches about a lot of things, but you better believe what he preaches about is usually true.
Jimmy Johnson talked for 10 days about the importance of turnovers.
Here's Haley, hit him and picked off in the air. Jimmy Jones intercepts and rolls in for a touchdown.
You know, we were just laying down the cards on the table, one by one. 10 of hearts.
Going for the end zone. Novacek at the 2, takes it in. Touchdown, Cowboys.
Jack of hearts.
Aikman to Irvin. Dallas touchdown.
Queen of hearts.
Aikman a draw to Smith. Coming left, breaks the cuts to the 5. Turning at the 1. Touchdown, Evan Smith.
1 billion people watching on television weren't certain we held the rest of the cards, but we were.
This play here where Michael Irvin broke out of a corner pattern too early, jumped up, swung his right leg out to shield the defender away from the ball, came down with a pass and dove into the end zone is one of my favourite plays of all time. It set the tone of the Cowboys dynasty of the 90s. The NFL Films slow motion footage, courtesy of Steve Sabol and NFL Films, will always hold a special place in my heart as a Cowboys fan. In 2012, Steve Sabol tragically passed away at the age of 69. His father Ed died in 2015 at the age of 98. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell's summary of Sabol's contributions to the sport said it best. Steve was a visionary. He spent 50 years in the NFL and changed the way we see pro football. So when you're watching NFL games this week, it's worth remembering how much Steve contributed to the way we think, see, and love our game. I've probably learned more about football and the history of the NFL from the stories told by Steve Sabol than I have ever learned about any subjects from anybody else in my life. Without Sabol, I would not have anything close to the knowledge I do. Not just when it comes to football, but sports in general. Without Sabol's films, I may still be interested in sports history, but I doubt I would have had the same desire to learn about sports and share the knowledge that I have. During Sabol's time at NFL Films, the company was awarded over 100 Emmy Awards, and they were all well-deserved. In 2021, Sabol became a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, a museum already covered with his cinematography and artwork. His legacy will live on forever.
Dear Mr. Sabol.
Dear Steve. Hi, Steve.
You don't know me.
You don't know me.
But I feel I know you.
If I know you.
I know we've never met.
Although I have never met you, I feel like I have.
I feel I've known you my whole life.
Mr. Sabol, I'm a 48-year-old father of 3 children.
I am a woman of 67 years old.
I am a 78-year-old grandmother.
I'm 40 and I always remember you being there.
As with millions of other NFL fans, you have had an impact on my life.
You have made a massive impact on my life.
You made the game matter to me.
You have no idea the impact you've had on so many lives.